Hey, I'm Lauren. I'm 33, born and raised in a little town outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. I used to think family meant unconditional love, no matter what. But turns out sometimes the people who share your blood can make you bleed the worst. I wasn't the favorite, not even close. That title belonged to my younger sister, Melissa. Growing up, she was the golden child. Straight A student, cheerleader, always smiling for the camera. My dad, Richard, used to tell anyone who'd listen that Melissa was destined for greatness. When it came to me, though, he'd just say I was figuring things out. That was his polite way of saying disappointment. My mom tried to even things out when we were kids, but she was always careful not to cross him. Dad ran our house like a courtroom. His word was law. I learned to stay quiet, to keep my head down, to avoid those long, disappointed looks he'd give me when I didn't measure up. But this story isn't about childhood. It's about what happened 20 years later when I finally stood up for myself and made him eat those words. It started 2 summers ago. Mom had just passed away, cancer, fast, brutal, unfair. The house felt hollow without her, like someone turned down the volume on everything. We gathered at my parents' place for the first family dinner since the funeral. It was me, my dad, Melissa, and her husband, Ethan. Dad sat at the head of the table, carving roast beef like it was a holiday. No one said much. The silence just hung there, thick and awkward. Then Melissa started talking about her new house. 3,500 square feet, modern kitchen, huge backyard. She kept flashing her diamond ring, talking about her husband's promotion. I tried to smile. I really did, but then Dad laughed. Not a light chuckle. One of those deep, satisfied laughs that make everyone else feel small. He looked at me and said, "You hear that, Lauren? Your sister earned everything she's got on her own. Unlike you." The knife froze in my hand. The room went silent. Melissa's smile faltered for half a second, then she looked down at her plate. Ethan cleared his throat. And my dad, my father, just kept eating like he hadn't said anything cruel at all. I didn't say a word that night. Not one. I excused myself, walked to my car, and sat there with my hands shaking. It wasn't just what he said. It was how easily it came out, like he'd been waiting years to finally say it out loud. You see, I hadn't had it easy. I worked part-time jobs through college, took out loans, and ended up in debt just trying to stay afloat. My career never really took off, but I worked hard. I wasn't lazy. I just didn't have the same luck or support Melissa did. Dad co-signed her first mortgage, paid for her wedding, covered her down payment on that shiny SUV she bragged about. Me? I got a used car and a maybe next year, but that night in the car, something changed. For the first time, I didn't cry. I just stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror and said out loud, "All right, Dad, you want to see what I can earn? Watch me." Over the next year, I rebuilt everything. I'd been working as an assistant at a local design firm, always staying in the background while the others took credit. But that night pushed something sharp inside me. I started volunteering for the projects no one wanted, the impossible ones. Stayed late, learned new software, built my own client base quietly, one by one. By spring, I was running my own small business, a boutique interior design studio out of a rented garage. At first, it was nothing fancy. Folding table, laptop, paint samples everywhere. But within 6 months, I landed a client that changed everything, a real estate developer out of Nashville who liked my gritty, real style. That first check was enough to pay off one of my loans. By Christmas, I'd cleared all of them. I didn't tell Dad. I didn't even tell Melissa. I wanted them to see. Then came the house. I found this old Craftsman on the edge of town, peeling paint, creaky floors, broken windows. Most people saw a disaster. I saw potential. Mom always said I had her eye for beauty where others saw mess. I could hear her voice when I walked through it, telling me to trust my hands, so I bought it. Cash. Every dollar I'd earned that year. I spent nights sanding floors, painting walls, fixing cabinets. Neighbors probably thought I was out of my mind. But when it was done, it looked like something out of a magazine. Warm wood, soft light, everything chosen by hand. That's when I sent the invitation. It was Melissa's birthday, and she'd been posting all over social media about her perfect family dinner. I texted her, "Hey, why not do it at my place this year? I've got something to show you all." She said yes immediately. A week later, Dad, Melissa, and Ethan pulled up in their shiny SUV, stepping out like they were walking into a model home tour. Dad's first words? "Whose place is this?" I smiled. "Mine." He blinked. I could see the wheels turning. He didn't believe it. Not until I showed him around. The new kitchen. The restored wood beams. The framed business license on the wall. "I earned everything on my own," I told him. Melissa smiled awkwardly, trying to play along, but I saw her eyes darting to Dad, waiting for him to say something. He didn't. Not right away. He just walked around. Quiet, jaw tight, pretending to admire the place. Later that night, after they left, he called me. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. "You did good, Lauren." "Your mom would have liked this," I said. "Yeah, she would have." And that was it. But I wasn't done, because I'd recently learned something Mom had hidden from us before she passed. See, she had a savings account, one she built quietly over years, separate from Dad. She'd told her lawyer that she wanted it to go to me. "She's had to fight for everything," her letter said. "Let this make it easier." The lawyer had been waiting to deliver the papers, but he couldn't reach me, because Dad had handled everything after the funeral. He'd known. He'd taken that account and transferred it into his name, claiming Mom had intended to combine the assets, and I had proof. I didn't rush. Revenge isn't about speed. It's about precision. I gathered the documents, copies of the emails, and bank statements. And then I waited for the perfect moment. That moment came 6 months later, at Melissa's housewarming party. Dad was there, bragging about her new patio and Ethan's promotion. He saw me and smiled like nothing had ever happened. That's when I pulled out the folder. "You remember Mom's separate account?" I asked. "The one you said she didn't have?" He froze. Everyone at the table went quiet. I slid the copies across the table, the proof of every transfer, every signature. "She left it for me, Dad, and you took it." He started to stammer something about misunderstanding, but Melissa, for once, spoke up. "Dad, you told me you closed that account after she died." He looked between us, his face pale. I could see his pride collapse right there in front of everyone. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just stood up, picked up my coat, and said, "I earned my place, Dad, on my own." Just like you said. Then I walked out. Later that week, his lawyer called me. The funds were being transferred, quietly, no apology, no explanation. But I didn't need one. That money wasn't the real win. It was watching the man who'd spent his whole life belittling me realize I didn't need his approval. Mom was right. I'd always had to fight for everything. But that fight made me who I am, and sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's just becoming undeniable. You ever notice how silence can say more than a scream? That's how it felt after that night at Melissa's. My dad didn't call. Melissa didn't either. The whole family group chat went quiet. No good mornings, no Sunday dinner talk, nothing. At first, I thought maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe humiliating him like that in front of everyone wasn't the best way. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized he'd done it to me my entire life. He just finally got a taste of his own medicine. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Melissa. Her voice was shaky. "Dad's not doing great," she said. "He's been quiet and kinda angry. Maybe you should talk to him." I didn't answer right away. I sat there, staring out the window at my half-finished garden, remembering all the nights I'd cried over the things he said to me. The names, the comparisons, the small humiliations. "You're not like your sister, Lauren. She's driven. You drift." I drifted because every time I tried to stand still, he pushed me off balance. So no, I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. But life has a way of circling back whether you want it to or not. A few days later, I saw his truck pull into my driveway. I hadn't even given him the new address, so he must have gotten it from Melissa. He sat there for a minute, engine running, then got out slowly. He looked older. Smaller even, like some part of him had folded in on itself. "Can we talk?" he said. I stepped aside and let him in. He looked around the house like he was seeing it for the first time. Every photo, every detail. I could tell it bothered him how much of me was in here. Not his influence, not his help, just me. He sat at the kitchen table, same place he'd once insulted me years ago when I lived with them for a few months after college. "I didn't mean to steal from you," he started. "I just thought it'd be simpler that way." "You weren't ready." That word again. Ready. Like my life was something I needed his permission to live. I didn't say anything. He sighed. Your mother always said you were stubborn. Guess she was right. She also said I was strong, I replied. He looked down. Yeah, that too. For a second, I saw something shift in his eyes. Regret, maybe. But with my dad, it was hard to tell. He always wore his pride like armor, even when it was killing him from the inside. He asked if I'd consider forgiving him. Said he didn't want to leave things ugly. That's when I realized this wasn't about guilt. It was about control. He couldn't stand that I had won, that I had something he couldn't take back. So I told him the truth. Dad, I don't hate you, but I can't keep pretending you didn't hurt me. He nodded slowly, eyes flicking to the floor. You're your mother's daughter, all right? That's the best thing you've ever said to me, I told him. He left without another word. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Melissa again. Dad's in the hospital, she said. Heart attack. He's okay, but he's scared. I sat there for a while, not sure how to feel. I wanted to rush over. He was still my father, after all. But then I thought about all the years I'd begged for his approval, and how little compassion he ever showed me. Instead, I sent flowers. A small note, get well soon. Lauren, that was it. Simple, distant, honest. He didn't reply, but the nurse told Melissa he read the card 3 times. The next few months were quiet. I buried myself in work, new clients, new designs, more recognition. A local magazine even featured my home studio in a spread called Second Chances. Funny title, right? When the issue came out, I saw my dad's name in the subscription list. He'd kept his copy. Then one day, a letter showed up in my mailbox, handwritten, from him. Lauren, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I finally see it. You didn't drift. You survived me. I'm proud of what you've built. And if your mom could see it, she'd be proud too. No signature. Just Dad. I cried for the first time in months. Not because I missed him, but because I finally felt free. A few weeks later, Melissa invited me to a family dinner. He wants to see you, she said. I hesitated but went anyway. When I walked in, Dad was already sitting at the table, thinner, quieter, humbled. He looked up at me and smiled weakly. Hey, kiddo, he said. Hey, Dad. He gestured to the chair across from him. I sold the lake house. Too much upkeep. Okay, I said cautiously. He smiled faintly. The money's going to your business. Consider it Mom's way of helping. I froze. He slid an envelope across the table. Bank documents, transfer slips. He'd already done it. No conditions. No strings. You earned it, he said softly. Now I just want to help you grow it. It was the first time in my life he ever acknowledged my work, not as luck. Not as a fluke, but as mine. That night, when I drove home, the sunset hit the rearview mirror just right. The sky was this soft orange, the same color as the paint Mom used to love. For the first time in years, I didn't feel bitter. I didn't feel angry, I felt balanced. He was still flawed, still stubborn, still him. But he was finally learning. Maybe too late, but still. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. It's about forcing someone to see you, to really see you. And he finally did. I kept that letter from him. Framed it next to my mom's old photo on my office wall. A reminder that pain can build you if you let it. I still don't forgive him completely, but I don't need to. Because I've learned something stronger than forgiveness, peace. People think forgiveness is some magical ending. Like you let go of anger one morning, breathe deep, and everything's fine. But it's not like that. It's messier. It's slower. It sneaks up on you when you're doing dishes or driving or watering your plants, and suddenly the weight just feels lighter. That's how it started for me. A few months after that dinner, I was standing in my studio, sunlight coming through the blinds, the smell of sawdust and paint mixing in the air, when Melissa called again. He's moving, she said. He sold the old place. Wants to live closer to town? I blinked, surprised. He's leaving that house? Yeah, said he doesn't need all that space anymore. That house was his fortress, his kingdom. Every inch of it screamed control. The idea that he'd walk away from it, that was huge. He asked if you'd come by, Melissa added. Said he wanted to show you something before it's gone. I hesitated, but agreed. Some part of me needed to see it, one last time. When I drove up that familiar gravel driveway, The one I used to hate hearing under my tires. It felt different. Smaller, quieter. The trees were taller. The siding more faded. The garden long dead. Dad was sitting on the porch, in that same rocking chair he used to yell from when we were kids. He looked up, smiled a little. "Didn't think you'd come," he said. I almost didn't. He nodded like he expected that answer. "Come on in. I've got something for you." Inside, the air smelled like old wood and lemon cleaner. Most of the furniture was gone. Just boxes, photos, and that big oak table he refused to part with. He gestured to one of the boxes. "Your mom kept things. Thought you might want 'em." I opened it slowly. Letters, drawings, report cards, a few old Polaroids. One of me and him at the lake when I was about 7. He was holding me up by the waist, grinning like I'd just caught the biggest fish in the world. For a moment, I didn't see the man who'd hurt me. I saw the father I wanted him to be. He cleared his throat. "I ain't good at this. Talking stuff," he said quietly. "But I know I pushed you too hard. Tried to turn you into something you didn't want to be. Thought it was tough love. Guess it was just tough." I didn't speak. I just kept looking at that photo. "Melissa earned what she got," he continued. "But so did you. You just took a different road." I couldn't see that before. I do now. It wasn't an apology, not in the way people imagine it. But it was enough. I helped him pack the rest of the afternoon. We didn't talk much. Just small things, what to keep, what to toss. But the silence between us wasn't sharp anymore. It was comfortable. When I left, he handed me a small wooden box. "Your mom wanted you to have this one day," he said. It was her locket. The one she always wore. I opened it, her picture on one side, mine on the other. "Thank you," I said softly. He just nodded. "You deserve better than what I gave you." That was the closest thing to peace I'd ever heard from him. A few weeks later, I got the call. Heart failure, peaceful, quick. It shouldn't have hit me the way it did, but it did. I sat in that same studio, phone still in my hand, and cried harder than I thought possible. Not because I lost him, but because I finally had him for a moment, and it was gone too soon. At the funeral, Melissa and I stood together. She squeezed my hand. "He changed at the end," she whispered. I nodded. So did I. When they lowered him down, I slipped that old photo, the one from the lake, into the casket. My way of saying goodbye to both versions of him. The father who broke me and the one who tried to fix it. After that, I went home, sat on my porch with a glass of wine, and watched the sun go down. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the lesser daughter. I didn't feel compared or small or unseen. I'd built my own name, my own peace, my own story. And when people talk about revenge, they think it's about payback, about hurting the other person. But it's not. Real revenge is rebuilding yourself so completely that their opinion no longer defines you. It's walking into your past, standing tall, and realizing you don't owe anyone an explanation. Melissa still calls every Sunday. We talk about life, about work, about Dad sometimes. Not the bad parts, the funny ones. The small ones. Like how he used to whistle when he fixed the porch lights. Or how he'd burn pancakes every single time and still eat them anyway. I like remembering him that way. It doesn't erase what he did, it just makes the story feel whole. So yeah, when he said, "Your sister earned everything on her own, unlike you," that hurt more than I can ever explain. But I earned something he never understood, the strength to walk away, build a life from the wreckage, and still find compassion at the end of it all. I didn't become my sister. I became me. And that's the one thing he couldn't take credit for.